So apparently someone doesn't want me to record in this video, y'all. I'm trying to do it, trying to get the lighting right, but the shit not working. So I hope this is good enough. The main point is listen to the words. Oh my God. There's been a myth in the black community that only white people own slaves, more specifically own black slaves. That's a fucking lie. There was a man named William Ellison who was a black slave. He was born April Ellison because back in those days in the 1800s, the masters, they named the slaves basically based off the month they was born. So he was born in April. So his birth name was April Ellison because the slaves received their master's last name no matter what. Just so you know, because you probably go, what? Anyway. So I'm going to read to you some stuff from Wikipedia, and I'll put the link in the description box so you can read everything in detail for yourself. It's not a lie. He's not the only black slave, but he was like one of the largest black men that owned black slaves. And apparently he treated his slaves bad. As far as, like the worst clothes and didn't feed them like that and just the abuse and stuff. That is an allegation. So, William Ellison Jr., born April Ellison, April 1790. They don't know the exact date, but they do know the month and the year. So April 1790, and he died December 5th, 1861. He was a cotton gin maker and a blacksmith in South Carolina. He was a free Negro and former slave who achieved considerable success in business before the American Civil War. He eventually became a major planter and one of the medium property owners and the wealthiest black property owner in the state. He held 40 slaves at his death and more than 1,000 acres of land. So it is kind of funny to me when I read that, how a lot of these black people nowadays, they tell me, I want my 40 acres in the mule. Motherfucker, your ambitions are not high. Because this motherfucker had 100. Just saying. And he owned your ass. You need to collect from black people then too, not just looking at white people to pay you your fucking 40 acres in a mule. Bullshit. And he was one of the wealthiest black property owners in the state. Like I said, he held 40 slaves at the time of his death, had 1,000 acres of land. He and his sons were the only free blacks in Sumter County, South Carolina. When I saw that, that's what really got my attention, because my family, as far as on my mom's side, on her mother's side, is from Sumter, South Carolina. So when I saw them, I'm like, oh God, was we one of the slaves? Like, seriously, y'all. Part of my family is from Sumter, South Carolina. And, okay, the county was largely devoted to cotton plantations. The majority population were slaves. That is true. Ellison and his sons were among a number of successful free people of color in the antebellum years. But Ellison was particularly outstanding. His master, and likely his father, because no one really knows who his father was, but the master probably was his real father, based off the pictures I saw, had passed on social capital by apprenticing him to learn a valuable artisan trade as a cotton gin maker, in which Ellison made a success. He took a wife at the age of 21, Ellison did, after buying his own freedom when he was 26. Yeah, they bought their freedom back then. A few years later, Ellison purchased his wife and their children to protect them from sales as slaves. So yeah, so back then, what a lot of them did was they would buy other slaves, which would make them look like slave owners. But no, the only reason why they did it was to get their family and children out. But Ellison was a special case. He didn't do it just for that. No, he did not stop at getting his wife and kids out, because he got one of his daughters out first, but even before his wife. He didn't stop there. It's about a fucking business, period. I'm not even going to keep on, but it was about making money. He had slaves, period, working his land and all that stuff like that. Like, he really did. I'm trying to, because I don't want everything to run out, but that's what he did. It was about owning. It was about his land, and he hired slaves because of the labor, and he didn't have to pay them really nothing, and it is what it is. So like I said, the point I'm making as far as this video is just to let black people know that I'm not condoning white slave owners, but you have got to stop jumping on the white man like he was the only one that owned slaves. It was not just white men. Matter of fact, it wasn't just black men. And also, black people were not the only slaves. There were Irish slaves. Look at the damn Indians. Like, everybody, in my opinion, from my research, everybody was a slave. There's still slavery going on now. You got the sex trafficking and all that. The point is, stop blaming the white man, because you had some black men like Ellison right here, Mr. William Ellison, who owned many slaves. He had property and everything. The plantation is still there. Owned slaves. So, and it was a business. Oh, and let me let you know this one little more tidbit. Mr. Ellison supported the Confederate Army. Yep, in the Civil War. The only reason why he didn't serve in it because of his color. But he supported, he donated money and everything. He helped them out as far as feeding them and stuff like that. So, yeah. So, again, before you look at people like Trump, and I don't vote, I don't give a fuck about none of these motherfuckers, it's all bullshit. But remember, people like Ellison, who was a black man, not only did he own slaves, but he supported the Confederate Army. He did. He wanted to join the Confederate Army, but they didn't let him because of his skin color. But he still supported him. He didn't stop supporting him. He really did. Let me see if I can find this real quick. But like I said, I'll put the link in the description box. But, man, when I found this out, I'm like, wow. And long story short, your school systems, they don't teach this history. This is the truth. The reason why they don't teach it because it's an agenda. The agenda is division. And division comes when you act like the white man was the only one that was oppressing the black man. That's not true. It is not true. And William Ellison is not the only free black Negro that owned slaves. He wasn't. Look it up. He was one of the largest in South Carolina, and he did support the Confederate Army, flag and all. That you motherfuckers lose your mind over because the motherfucker's still hanging down there. You need to do research. Fuck what you learned in school. That shit is not true. Yeah, they tell you some truths, but they don't tell you all. I bet you didn't know about this shit. And I've always said, even before I knew this, I said it was black slave owners, black masters. Yeah. I ain't mad at him. It was a hustle. It was his work, whatever. But the point is, I'm mad at the fact that everybody want to heap everything on the white man. Especially the current white man. Everybody's not a racist and everybody's not holding you down. At the end of the day, if your motherfucking ass is not getting up till 12 at noon to look for a fucking job, you holding yourself down. Okay? Stop blaming the white man. Why don't you start blaming Mr. William Ellison? He had a plantation and he owned 40 of you motherfuckers at his death. Way more than that before he died. I'm just saying. Look it up. William Ellison. He was born April Ellison, 1800s. Look it up.